You alright, guys?
I'm Dan.
And I'm Andy.
Welcome to Game Couch.
Right, today we're going to be taking a look at Crystal Dynamics' new edition of Tomb Raider.
Let's get on with it then! Tomb Raider is the latest edition in the Tomb Raider franchise and puts up a valiant effort to reboot the Tomb Raider games. Developed by Crystal Dynamics and featuring the world's unluckiest privately educated 21-year-old, Tomb Raider tries to ground itself in sometimes disturbingly brutal realism where a young Lara Croft is acting and killing not out of skill or experience, but rather from necessity and the will to survive. See the death scenes when Lara is snared to understand what I mean.
The most noticeable change is the excellent reworking of the Lara model, doing away with the Jessica Rabbit-style overemphasised assets and leaving us with a cuter, more vulnerable-looking character, who for some reason has a strange sexual tension with all of the other characters in the game.
I think that's just you, mate.
It probably is. You just spend most of the time wearing a wet t-shirt.
Yeah.
Anyways, with the changes to the main character, overall aesthetic, and the lack of dual handguns aside, rather than focusing on how this game varies from the original franchise, let's instead look at how the reboot should be looked at, which is independently, regardless of the words Tomb Raider written on the box.
Yep. The game is set on a small island situated in an area named for a bad euphemism of a lady dragon's sex organs. The island is inhabited by a variety of dangers, some natural, some unnatural, and some cultists.
Ah! Stop comparing it!
I'm not! They are! Whilst on the island, Lara can use her bow and other weapons to hunt animals and cultists, don't slap me. You do this to gain extra experience and salvage, which you can spend levelling up skills and improving your weapons. This subtle RPG element is very fun and gives the game a sense of freedom, but that freedom is a bit short-lived when it unleashes its quick-time events, forcing us through linear but very well executed and cinematic action scenes, which leave any thoughts and preparations of stealth quite useless.
The first thing you'll notice when playing the game is that the writers must have taken a boatload of PCP. Forget the Far Cry 3 gap year experience. If it's overwhelming amounts of intensity you want, this is where it's at, yo. Other than the opening being one step behind getting smacked in the face of the box art, the story and the gameplay is well paced. You quite happily investigate the whereabouts of the other members of your team, a party of archaeologists and documentary filmmakers, while learning about the religious cult that controls the island, and still find time to get lost adventuring looking for hidden tombs. This is where most of the puzzles are situated.
Also, the puzzles are really good. They don't feel too complicated that you can't work them out, but they're complicated enough that you have to spend time thinking about them, which is like that perfect balance, really.
Like Portal.
Yeah, like Portal. Because of the new vulnerable Lara, the moments in the game which should be intense, scary and hectic genuinely come across as a mind-clattering clusterfuck, in a good way. You know, the way that being chased down a giant wooden corridor inexplicably held hundreds of feet in the air by a giant shogun warrior wielding a house on the end of a stick should feel in real life. And to be honest, a little lump of poo fell out during the scene when the Guardians were introduced. The feeling of adventure was one of my favourite things about this game, but it does lack the true feeling of freedom which games like Skyrim carry so well.
The game also definitely has replay value, if only to travel back across the island to find all of the collectibles. The
use of some of the game's unlockable skills make that job less painful as well, so you can focus on the exploring rather than turning over every single rock. We'll actually be making a separate video to look at the game's multiplayer, but as it stands at the moment, Tomb Raider gets a recommendation from us.
It's one of those games that I really enjoy, a game that doesn't get confused about what it wants to be. Mass Effect wanted to be a grand romantic space opera, Spec Ops The Line wanted to be a hard-nosed realisation of ethics and authority, and forces us to look deeply into our own moral standing of whether or not we can truly absolve ourselves from our own responsibility in our actions. And Tomb Raider, well, Tomb Raider wants to tell us a brilliant story. Old-styly.
You like Spec Ops too much.
And you like Mass Effect too much.
Nah, touche.
Cheers for watching, guys. That was the Tomb Raider reboot.
If you've got any requests, any games you want us to cover in the future, or you've got any comments on the video that you've just seen, stick them in the section below.
Don't forget to check out our old stuff, subscribe, and check us out on Facebook and Twitter.
See you later.
See ya.